Hi, I'm Hunter Shepard. I'm from Lee High School, and I did the effects of 3M filtrates on classrooms with high PM counts. And my question was, will placing an air filter in a room for a day lower the PM count significantly? And then will, by leaving the filtrate in the room for a week, lower the count even more? And my hypothesis was, by placing a filtered air filter in a room for a day, it will lower the PM count in the room for my first test without a filter. And then also by leaving this filter in the room for a week, it will lower the PM count significantly more than it had from the first testing. My method was, we first tested as a class all of ASA wood, and I went through and found all the classrooms that had high averages, and then went back and tested them once more without the filtrate to get a baseline data. And then the next day I sampled it with the filtrate running for a 24-hour period, and then I left the filtrate in the room for a week, and then came back and sampled it once more. And as you can see, the first test without the filtrate was very high, and then after a week with it, it lowered significantly. And then the maximums were actually very different, and there was one spike during the first day with the filter that contributed to this, and I didn't have any way to control this because there was different rooms and there was tons of different activities going on, such as art projects and such. And then I did a t-test to compare my results, and for a t-test to be significant, it had to be 0.05 or less. And my first pre-test without a filter to the day with the filter gave me a p-value of 0.1452, which was not significant. And then for my pre-test without a filter to a week with the filter running, the p-value was 0.0021, which was statistically significant. And then from the first day with the filter to after a week with the filter, the p-value was 0.0295, and this was once again significant. My conclusion was that by running a filtrate for just a day in a classroom will not make much of an improvement, yet leaving the filtrate in the classroom for a week does help. And then these filtrates could possibly improve the respiratory health of students and the overall air quality of rooms. And though these filtrates were designed for regular houses, not really classrooms, so if we had more of an industrial sized filtrate, it could possibly affect the classroom's air quality more. Is there any questions? Most of my testing was done during the winter, so the heaters were on, but there was, most of these classrooms didn't have any windows open, so just the heater, the airflow was affected.
So is the heating system forced air, or was it just
It's forced air, I believe. I'm not quite sure on that one.
And do you think if you had more samples, that you would show us not just one day filter?
I'm sure that if I had more time to test, that there would be a bigger difference.
Just a point of clarification, did the air filter run for 24 hours prior to the 24-hour sampling, or did you start it both the dust track and the air filter at the same time for the 24 hours and then sample later in the week?
I started the filtrate when I started the dust track for the first sampling for a day, and then I just left the filtrate running for a week, and then I just came in and put the dust rack in there.
Do you think it would have made a difference if you would have started the filter and had it run for a day and then tested the next day, as opposed to?
Yeah, because after a week it greatly affected the difference, so I'm sure it would have lowered the second reading.
Alright, my name is Fallon Taylor, and this is Chris Reed, and we are from Wasilla High School. And we are doing snowmobile PM comparison. Our question was, how do the PM 2.5 emissions of a snowmobile compare to the outdoor air quality standard? We tested it because there was people that were complaining about snow machines being bad for people's health and air. Our hypothesis was we predict that the emissions will be above the outdoor air quality standard. Research. We tried to research information on other tests for emissions of snowmobiles, but they only test that even measured PM 4.5 or larger. Our materials were a 2001 Polaris RMK 700cc snowmobile and dust track. And the way this two-stroke engine works is the air goes in and then it goes up, and when the sparks hit it, it goes out of the snow machine, and then the vibrations go back and it explodes and it starts over again. Our procedure was program dust track for 1 hour, taking measurements every 5 seconds. Then we set the track on the snowmobile seat and turned on the dust track when the snowmobile was off. And we waited 15 minutes, and we let the snowmobile idle for 15 minutes. And then we let the dust track run for 30 minutes with the snowmobile off. Variables were, wind speed was one of the major variables. We chose the calmest day that we could find to test this, so the effect of the variable would be limited. RPM at which the snow machine was run, and we ran it at ideal, which is when the snow machine runs the least efficiency.
So our observation, the only major problem we had was that the vibration from the snow machine, caused the dust track to fall into the snow and made a very, very large spike. Here's our data table. Our average was 0.03. Our minimum was 0.002, and these are all on things all on the side. Our results. The snowmobile running raised the PM levels higher than the outdoor air standard, which is 0.003 milligrams per meter squared per cube, which represented increased risk of asthma-related health problems. The average of the test while the snowmobile was running, excluding the spike caused by falling into snow, was 0.114884 milligrams per meter. Well, so this is much higher than the results that we expected from our test. We expected that they would be above the average, but not as high to simplify it. The explanation. Two-stroke engines are known for their dirty emissions. The oil used to lubricate the pistons is burnt in the compression process. It creates much more particulate matter from this dirty burn than a four-stroke engine creates. Errors. The dust track falling into the snow caused the PM measurements to spike drastically. Recommendations. Since there were no published examples of PM 2.5 emissions for a two-stroke, a recommendation for anyone who wishes to repeat this experiment would be use multiple snowmobiles to ensure accurate results, since carbureted two-strokes rely so much on tuning, and strap down the dust track to avoid wind and snow. And we skipped our graphs, so yeah, here's our graph, and you can see where I turned on the snow machine there, it immediately spiked up, and then it fell in the snow and caused a huge spike. And then once we turned it off, it went back down. Thank you. Any questions?
I just want to picture in my mind what you were doing here. So the snowmobile was actually just standing still. It wasn't moving or anything.
Yes, it was at idle, just sitting.
Okay. What do you think would happen if you had the snowmobile moving and you were measuring the emissions from a snowmobile that was behind it?
Your emissions would actually probably decrease, because as you go faster, you get a better burn out of it. You get a cleaner burn, so they probably decrease. And from behind, you would get a little bit more blowback, but most of it, because of the way the wind effects on the snow machine works, you probably wouldn't get as much as you would just sitting there letting it idle. Yes?
How did you measure your wind speed?
We did not measure the wind speed.
And how do you get that data? To know what day was calmest?
By walking outside and feeling how much the wind is blowing. If it's blowing hard, we didn't do it. Anybody else? All right, thank you.
Hello, my name is Aaron St. George.
I'm Leah Talkington. I'm Clarissa Williams.
And I'm Micah Gravatt-Bigley. We are from Corvallis and Mr. Hamill's chemistry class. Our show is about filtration systems in wood stove homes. So our question is, will an air filter keep a wood stove heated home's air quality at a safe level for an immunocompromised individual? And the whole reason we're doing this, and the goal we had in conducting this experiment, was to make the air quality in Clarissa's wood stove heated home as safe as possible for her 7-month-old sister living on post-heart transplant immunosuppressants. And we believe that if we use an air filter in her home, then the PM 2.5 levels will decrease to a safe level.
Alright, this is the procedure. This video is just to kind of show you roundabouts where we tested it. This is the home that we tested it in, and it had a wood burning stove, which you can see. And we tested Clarissa's home with 2 types of filtration units, the EcoQuest and 3M Filtrete. They were both operating in the child's room. There's the baby. Okay, and this was the control test. As you can see, it got quite high on 2 occasions where I believe there was a fire, and it was actually, that one was in the middle of the night, so that one is unexplained. And you can see that it's higher than the safe recommended level quite a lot of the time.
On this one, it was when we used EcoQuest, which is the first air purifier that you saw, and it peaks where we built a fire, but after a while it went down to be below the safe level. And this one was with the filtrate filter. As you can see, the majority of the time it was underneath it, even when we were building a fire.
So on average, basically the filtration systems decrease the amount of PM 2.5 by a lot. And our conclusion, overall using a filter in the house decreases the amount of PM 2.5 in the air, making it much safer. The filtrate system worked best at decreasing the average mass of PM 2.5 in the air by reducing it by 95%. Comparatively, the EcoQuest filter ended up decreasing particulate matter 68%.
So the University of Florida did a similar air quality test, researching the health of bone marrow transplant patients in environments with and without a HEPA filter. Without the HEPA filter, 20% of the patients suffered from an infection, while with a HEPA filter, 0 of 36 patients got an infection. So the conclusion, which confirms our results, was that HEPA filters are a good protection measure for highly immunocompromised patients to reduce the risk of health complications.
And possible errors were household activities like cooking, cleaning, building a fire, stoking it, such, and the distance from the test and the wood stove, and the time gap between when the filter started and when the air quality test started, and also how far the filters actually protect your house from PM 2.5 levels. one of the tests, I believe it was the EcoQuest test, it was snowing and pretty windy, but it was during the winter, so most of our windows and doors were closed anyways.
I have one right here. In your conclusion, you were talking about HEPA filters, but you used the Filtrete and EcoQuest. Was the HEPA from the Florida or from your own?
The HEPA filter was used during the Florida test. We used Filtrete and EcoQuest, but we were just talking about filters in general in our results.
What's up? I'm Paul Jessup.
I'm Stephen Jessup.
And we live in Pinesville, but we go to school in Corvallis. And our teacher is Mr. Hamill, and we're testing the difference between woodshop air quality and home air quality. We wanted to know whether or not the 3M Filtrete air filters would work in a wood shop since they're designed for homes. And we wanted to know how well they would actually filter out the air and if they would filter out PM 2.5. And we wanted to know if the air filters would filter stuff like sanding, if sanding and staining and other particles that were going on in the wood shop.
And we hypothesized that the filter would not pick up the particles from the sanding and staining and stuff because we figured that the particles made by sanding and staining would be too large for the filter to pick up, and we didn't think that it would pick it up.
So first off, we got the dust track from Mr. Hamill and the filter, and we took it to the wood shop and we tested for 12 hours without the air filter, and there was no work being done in the wood shop. And the second test we did for 12 hours was in the wood shop without work being done with the filter.
Then we took the dust track to inside the house, and we tested it inside the house without a filter for 12 hours, and then we tested for 12 hours with the filter.
And finally, we took the dust track and the filter to the shop and tested with and without the filter for 12 hours while there was work going on in the wood shop.
And the air quality in the home, as you can see, there was a couple spikes right as we started the test. And this red line here is the 0.035 milligrams per meter cubed of PM 2.5, which is the registered bad amount. And there's a couple spikes in here, and it gradually lowers as we left the room and throughout the day.
So this is the air quality in the shop, and we decided to do this test at night so that there was no air circulation going on, so that we'd know exactly what the actual amount was. And as you can see, it was above the bad amount most of the time through the night. And then in the morning, when the doors started being opened up with the air circulation, it went down to below the amount.
And then when we actually started to work in the shop and we sanded and stained for this short period of time, and during that time it was really high, so we figured that if people are working in that environment all the time and they have an amount that's drastically above the good amount or the bad amount, so they could have a very high risk of getting asthma or any other kind of disease like that. And
Yeah.
And then we put the filter to use. This is in the house with the filter, and this is in the house without the filter. And you can't. And if we zoom up on it, then you can see this blue mark right here is there was one spike at the very beginning when it was this with the filter, and this blue line is at 0 the whole time, and that's the air quality with the filter, and this is the air quality without the filter. So as you can see, the air filter definitely helps.
And then in the shop, while we were sanding and staining, the filter brought the level down a ton too. It's still not above, or it's still not below the bad amount, but it decreased it by a lot, and it's almost 1/3 the amount that it was before.
Okay, and this is nothing happening in the shop with and without the filter. This is with the filter, with nothing going on in the shop, and this is without the filter, with nothing happening in the shop. And our conclusion is?
Our conclusion is that the filter definitely did help a lot. This graph, or this spot right here, shows with the home not working.
Are there any questions?
I'm curious why you thought the filter did not help.
We didn't think the filter would help with the sanding and staining because we thought that like the sawdust coming from the sanding would be too large for the filter to pick up. We weren't sure if it would pick it up at all.
Because it falls to the ground before it has a chance to get through the filter? Yeah.
Sure. No, we were just testing PM 2.5.
Okay, so I'm Acton, and this is Clary, that's Minnie, and this is Mitch. And we're also from Corvallis High School, and we decided to study the air quality of businesses versus how it would be in wood-stone homes.
Particulate matter is pretty much dust or exhaust and stuff. And it can cause asthma or heart problems or anything having to do with the respiratory system.
And we wanted to know if you are safer at home, or with businesses, or would it be the same as hazardous with homes with wood stoves? And so is the air quality better in wood stove homes or at work?
So we thought that the level of PM 2.5 would be higher in businesses because there's a lot of large machinery and chemicals that are working, whereas in the home it's just mostly appliances that are working and cooking. So we thought, well, and also wood stove, but yeah. We tested 4 businesses and 2 wood stove homes. We tested classic cabinets, which is basically just a cabinet shop. They work with wood and make all types of things. And Thunderhorn is a bow making company. They make bows and quivers, arrows, and hoods.
In the Corvallis ceramic room, they just sculpt and create pieces of art out of clay.
And Hamilton Pack is just like a meat packing place. They make jerky and stuff like that.
The test ran for an average of 13 hours, and the samples were then brought back to the school.
Our ceramic room, we had a lot of kids going around and a lot of clay dust getting up in the air. We had lots of chemicals with the lacquer and the glazing, and the ventilation, air ventilation through the system.
In Thunderhorn, they cut out the bows out of wood and they sand them and they lacquer and spray paint them. And they also have where they dye the leather and they stamp and cut the leather. And they have a steam room where they get the leather wet to mold it.
In Hamilton Pack, they have a lot of large machines and there's always a lot of workers going around and stuff. And they also have a smoker room where they smoke their jerky and stuff, so that could make it higher.
In classic cabinets, they're just constantly working with wood, lacquering, sanding, cutting, just use large machines. These are just pictures. There's ceramics room, Thunderhorn, classic cabinets, Hamilton packing, and our house samples. Okay, so classic cabinets, as you can see, there's quite a bit of spikes. And then this is just throughout the day when they're lacquering or cutting wood. Around dinner time is when they all leave, they go home and eat, and then just a few of them come back and continue working on projects they need to get done. The red line is the safety level, so our results are well above the safety level.
This is Thunderhorn. There is one spike where they start spraying the bows and they have, and it goes down and stays below the safety level.
Okay, there is the first thing where they're underneath the line, that was when they had just normal day art classes. And the big spikes are when they actually started ceramics. And the biggest spike is when they are transitioning between classes and cleaning up.
And at Hamilton Pack, they have like the heaters kick on, so it like moves the air around some, and a cleaning guy comes in and he's using a lot of chemicals and stuff, so that brings it up. And then the first house sample, it's like everyone's getting up in the morning and they have a later start, so they shut the fire down and stuff, and it goes out, and then throughout the day it's out until they start getting home later and you can sleep.
Okay, this one, they had a few kids and lots of food making processes. The downsizing is when they the fire went out a little bit and they started up again. This one's the highest levels of where the classic cabinets and the Hamilton Packing Company.
Our conclusion is pretty much that our hypothesis was somewhat correct. 2 of the businesses were higher than the wood stove and 2 were below. And depending upon what business what the business is, it can be just as hazardous homes with wood stoves.
And some of the possible errors is like where you put the location of the pump and like anyone messing with it, and then like if you're going in or out of the room, it could also mess with it.
Thanks.
Problems with the businesses and commissions?
No problems.
Did you show them the data, what it was, and how did you feel about it?
We're going to.
The ceramic room, we actually showed them the data and they were really surprised, and so the whole school got a really big air filter machine with their other ones, and so hopefully they can be seeing cleaner air.
I showed one of the businesses what their graph, and they were really, really surprised and actually kind of a little bit worried. So, yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you.
All right. My name is Seth McCracken. This is Tominori Bala and Cameron Davis. And all the ppms in our thing should actually be PM 2.5, but because it's not final draft, so yeah. And our project was to see if the age of a car affected how much particulate matter it put out inside the cabin. And our hypothesis was, on average, older cars will have a higher PM 2.5 rating inside than newer ones will. And the two cars we used for this presentation were a 97 Chevy Silverado and a 74 Pontiac Firebird. And so first we chose the two cars because they had a similar engine and volume inside the cabin. And we decided it would be the best to run the experiments at similar times. It was before school, during lunch at school, and after school. And they were all done on the same time of season. And the driving time was the same, so like if you went to one place for lunch, we went to a place right by it for like the next day in a different car. And we also controlled the same number of people in each car. And we tried to control variables such as speed as best as possible, but we obviously couldn't control things such as weather. And the seat heights were different in the Firebird. It had cloth or vinyl, and the truck had cloth seats.
Alright, the first spike in the data for the Firebird is the morning we started it, we let both the truck and the Firebird warm up. And it hit a very unsafe level when it was sitting warming up because it wasn't moving at all, and it was just sitting there collecting all the emissions out of the exhaust. And as you can see, the Chevy's particulate matter stayed relatively low compared to the Firebird's. This is the 11 a.m. test, and there were a few stops and goes, and that's the best we could figure with the data spikes that we have here. And the data is actually on a little bit different scale, that's why the graphs look a little bit more drastic. This is all the data put together, and as you can see, the Firebird and the truck were about the same when they weren't warming up. But when you count the Firebird warming up, the Firebird offsets the data a lot. And our conclusion is our hypothesis was correct. Overall, the Firebird did have a little bit higher particulate matter. Actually, when the Firebird was built, there were no emissions controls. And when the 97 Chevy was built, in the handout we show the emission controls that there were. And yeah.
So from the data, we also found that there was several points where the PM level was above the safe level. So we did a little bit of research, and we found a report by the CTA, and they tested the in-car air pollution, and one of them was PM 2.5, and they came to the conclusion that the air inside have more PM level than ambient air and the roadside. Yeah. And solution is pretty simple. Just have a filter inside the car and filter the air coming into the car. So, any questions?
Aerodynamics has anything to do with letting the exhaust and then you get sucked back under the chassis in that way?
It could, but we didn't really take. Oh,
you did drive them,
yeah. No, we did drive the cars, and that's why there was this actual fluctuation in the data. We didn't really consider that, but yeah, it probably does have a very large effect on it.
I have two small questions. One, how was time measured? It was. I saw.
Oh, time was we took data and measured it every second.
Oh, okay. And
because
then,
we only ran the tests for an hour and a half, okay. So we had to get as many points as possible.
And then, where was the dust track put at?
We put the dust track in the back seat both times.
Did you drive the same roads with both vehicles, and were they dirt roads, were they paved?
They were paved roads, and yeah, we did drive the vehicles to the same place. name is Seth Pumpkin. This is Ben Nunnell. We're from Corvallis High School.
We're not Jessups, we're pretty proud of that.
Our project was on vacuum cleaners and how much PM 2.5 they put in the air. And there's two highly rated vacuum cleaners, more expensive than two cheaper ones. So we wanted to know like how they contrasted and if they agreed with the manufacturer's claims. And just some facts. Just over 40 million Americans suffer from air and dust allergies. Vacuum cleaner emissions are a significant cause of many allergic reactions, and many worry about them. Almost every vacuum cleaner brand on the market today promotes their product with phrases like traps over 99% of dust and dirt in the air. And conducting this experiment will either prove or refute these claims. And the products we tested were the Kirby Centria, the Rainbow Technologies E model, and those go from $1,200 to $1,600, so they're pretty expensive. The third one was the Dirt Devil Breeze, claiming like the first two to trap over 99% of the dust, so we're going to see if that's true. And the International Engineers 820, manufactured in the mid-1980s, with absolutely no good expectations whatsoever, so we're going to see how that one goes. And our hypothesis was in agreement with the manufacturer's claims. We hypothesized that the use of the first, second, third appliances will raise the amount of matter in the air by any significant manner. It will not. These three will compare very closely. The fourth, however, will emit a large amount of PM into the air. It's older and less technology.
Just to kind of keep control on it, our procedure was to take a 20-minute dust track sample to determine average PM 2.5 and fluctuation to make sure the PM 2.5 in the room didn't actually fluctuate before the test. Take a 5-minute sample during the floor cleaning event to determine the immediate fluctuation, and then take a 20-minute sample to determine the room's average PM after each event. Then we repeated those steps for each model and compared the data. Controls were, the considerations were empty vacuum bags for a long test to determine averages. The instrument remained in a static area for every sampling event. The environment, air current, same area, etc. Soil mass, volume, and type. We used very fine garden soil. You can see the Kirby Centria during the 5-minute floor cleaning event. That was actually the most fluctuation we saw inside the room. Actually, for all of these, we saw the most fluctuation during the cleaning event. You can see that there. This is kind of a biased graph. It's on a different scale. It didn't fluctuate very much at all. You can see on the left there, as compared to the other ones. The International Engineers 820 was actually in third place. We didn't expect that because it was manufactured, 25 years ago, but 35 years ago. And the Dust Devil Breeze. This was another one that claimed that it would not emit anything, and obviously it did. The conclusions reached were obviously not in accordance with the hypothesis, with the exception of the Rainbow E model, which didn't really fluctuate at all. It was like 0.0017, 0.0016, 0.0018, significant. One vacuum cleaner actually decreased significantly the amount of PM 2.5 in the air, while the last two emitted large amounts of it. That was the Kirby Centria we're talking about. Possible errors were the air currents and size of the room. The size of the room was a 10 by 10. It could be a little bit smaller. And the furniture, it was all fabricated furniture with fabric on it. That's what Any questions, folks?
I'm trying to understand your model here. The carpet, you put something down on the carpet before you cleaned it, or you just used the dirty carpet or something?
We put a controlled amount of, the mass and the volume of the soil, and it was the same type of soil on a very clean carpet as a control for our.
Were you fairly confident that the soil would be able to generate PM 2.5?
It was very fine soil, so we actually did believe that it would generate PM 2.5.
Compare bagless vacuums to unswept bags, like that there's a size and that claims to be totally different technologies and all the rest of the reason why you.
Yeah, all four of the vacuums actually had different technologies, and one of them, the Dust Track, said it had an enhanced micron filtration system. One had a HEPA filtration system. One, the Rainbow Technologies E-model, actually filtered it using water, and the international engineers didn't really have a filter at all. So.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jejula Citra. My name is Kevin Johnson.
I'm Megan Barkelmas.
And thank you for coming to our presentation on the air quality, the seasonal air quality in the Missoula area. We are from Big Sky High School under the direction of David Jones.
We tested in locations all around Missoula, really. We tested all three high schools, Sentinel, Hellgate, and Big Sky, down through Patty Canyon and Wilderness area down on the south side of town, as well as the Rattlesnake area, Chief Charlotte Elementary School, Mount Sentinel, which is where our famous M is, and the humble neighborhood of Grand Creek, where I live.
Our hypothesis was that our locations were going to have better air quality in the winter than in the spring months.
So these are just some pictures of the high schools we tested. During the times we tested these high schools, there weren't like a lot of people. We didn't want the school days to affect like our data. And this is the graph for Sentinel. Sentinel was tested in November and April, I believe. The same for Hellgate as well as Big Sky. And this was Patty Canyon. I tested Patty Canyon in December and March. I tested an area that wasn't really around a residential area, and what we took into account there was a house, and it was
Rattlesnake area is a lot more near the other side of town. Down there, I believe. You test this part. Chief Charlotte Elementary is up in the South Hills, about medium elevation. Mount Sentinel is.
That's mine. I tested Mount Sentinel once in February and another time in April. Sorry, I don't want to say June yet. And we were trying to get a day where there wasn't a whole lot of hikers. It didn't work very well for us. The wind was a factor up there sometimes. It could get very windy.
I took care of the Grant Creek area, particularly in my backyard, and it's a very calm area. And a lot of the time the data was below the set 0 mark for the dust track. So apparently my neighborhood is very clean.
These are our max and min averages for these graphs. I don't know how you get negative averages, but apparently we did in the Grant Creek area. And our hypothesis was not complete. It was incorrect, for only 2 of our 8 locations proved to have a better air quality in this winter than in the spring. But believed factors that we believe were the winter cloud cover could have kept particles in the valleys and in the areas around Missoula. Fire season, the particles that were left around from there could have stayed in. Missoula residents and residents surrounding Missoula could be used with stoves, the weather, and traffic. Thank you. Are there any questions?
Did you calibrate your dust track between every test?
Yes.
My name is Maddie Casey. And my name is Brandy Mirador, and we are from Libby High School under the advisorship of Mr. Gene Recken. And our study was the correlation between ventilation and air quality on PM 2.5 levels in Libby Senior High School.
Our question was, do PM concentrations in the new sections of the Libby High School and the old sections differentiate due to the variant ventilation systems? Our purpose was to explore the air quality of Libby High School because 90% of an average person's time is spent indoors, and on average a student spends 7 to 8 hours inside.
Our hypothesis was, if the ventilation is poor in the older sections of the building, then air quality in that section of the building will have larger PM 2.5 concentrations. Due to our concern with ventilation, we explored custodial cleaning products because some emit toxins that irritate the respiratory tract. Because of poor ventilation, the air is not filtered as well, giving higher PM counts. 2 of the products used daily in each of the classrooms cleaned was Arsenal Assurance HD Spray and Wipe Cleaner, which gives off terpenes that irritate mucous membranes. Another is Arsenal Window Cleaning Concentrate, which contains isopropyl alcohol that causes respiratory irritation. When these products are used, the room should be well ventilated, but with our custodians, this was not the case. The school was originally occupied in 1966, and there is a new addition to the school that was occupied in 1989, giving a 23-year span between the ventilation systems.
For our method, we monitor the high school classrooms in the old and new sections of the building, and we used the dust track, which was located at a waist to chest height, and we took 24-hour samples, primarily during the winter months.
The older ventilation system circulates air within the rooms that's warmed by a boiler system that runs hot water to each classroom. It has an actuator which controls the inside and outside air temperature or air mixture, and it's based on the outside air temperature. So if the air outside is relatively warm, more fresh air is filtered into the rooms. But if the air outside is relatively cold, the actuator is closed off, giving minimal outside circulation. The newer ventilation system takes outside air and warms it through oil furnaces in the ceiling, and it circulates air into the room and back outside, giving an exchange of inside and outside air.
We distributed a questionnaire to each of the teachers, and in it we asked about air circulation, whether the doors and windows were opened or closed, if there was any non-custodial cleaning products used, if there were any maintenance activity throughout the day, and when or how often the room was occupied.
This map illustrates all the rooms that we monitored within the high school. Highlighted in the blue are the old sections of the building which have the older ventilation systems, and highlighted in red is the newer sections of the building that we monitored, and highlighted in black next to each room is our average PM 2 value for each test taken.
In this graph, we have the average PM 2.5 levels for the old section and the new section. So as you can see by the blue, the average for the old section was about 29, and in the new it was about 11.75, which shows a considerable difference. In this graph, we have the comparison of the new section with the lab versus the daily news and old sections. So as you can see by the yellow, the new section with the lab's average was about 33.5, which was almost as high as the old section on a daily basis, which is about 29. So the new with the lab ventilated almost just as well as the old on a daily basis. This graph shows the presence of non-custodial cleaning products used in each of the sections. So as you can see, the older section was about 4 times as high as the new section. Our p-value was about 0.0029, which showed a non-random relationship between the old and new sections. For our support for our hypothesis, we would say the ventilation does play a dominant role in PM count, and due to previous findings, cleaning products can cause PM count to rise unless properly ventilated.
Our limitations in error depended largely on our sample size, the timing that our samples were taken in, and outside levels affecting PM 2.5 levels.
For our improvements, we would have a larger sample size and monitor each room more than once, take the same amount of samples in both sections of the building, and sample each section on the same day. Take more of samples with the presence of non-custodial cleaning products, sample seasonally, and sample the entire school.
And if we were to conduct further study on our topic, we would improve our limitations in error, try to increase circulation of air throughout the rooms, and reduce PM 2.5 levels through the use of a purifier or filter, using a filter besides the ones located in the heaters, or a higher quality filter such as an electrostatic filter, cleaning the filter more than once a year, and monitoring the actuator to see if it actually works, and for a broader spectrum, monitor another school to compare ventilation systems.
These are our references, and thank you. Do you have any questions?
There were more non-custodial cleaning products used in the old section than the new. I saw it on the graph. I was wondering if you're talking about teachers who use their own cleaning products?
Yeah, in those rooms there was the presence of non-custodial cleaning products that were used in those rooms when we took the test, and we compared the average PM levels, and overall the older sections of the building seem to retain the particulates released into the air at a much higher level than in newer sections of the building.
It wasn't necessarily that more products were used in the old section, they just, the products that were used stayed on.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Were the same type of in those classrooms outside of the labs, were the same type of activities taking place in those classrooms? I know you said you put through questionnaires. Did they indicate the same type of activities were taking place, and then with the same type of age group of children involved?
The ages of the kids in the classrooms varied because of the scheduling of the teachers, but for the most part it was just normal school day, nothing out of the usual. Yes.
Are more of the lab workshops including the secondary school and the whole part of the school have more of those kinds of activities?
The older section of the building does not have any science classrooms. Only the newer section of the building has science classrooms. And one of our improvements was to conduct a lab in the older section to do comparison purposes. Any other questions? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Citra, and this is Yao Bang, and this is Samuel Espinosa, and Ruben Chanes, and Malachi from here today.
wants to click the button? Our air quality project question was, how does air quality differ in two locations on the valley floor throughout the winter? And we expected Malachi's house to have worse air quality because it was surrounded by Reserve Street, 3rd, and Russell Street, and River Road. All are busy roads in Missoula, and there's a gravel pit down the ways, and a waste treatment facility. And we expected Dow's house to be much lower in P2.5 because it's on a hill and it is only close to the major streets I know. We ran 24-hour samples inside our houses once a month, starting in November and lasting till March. Variables were weather and precipitation. Might have affected our data. However, since we did simultaneous sampling, it was solved.
These are the graphs of our data, and the orange line are Malachi's house, and the red ones are mine. And this is the graph of December. And another graph, once again, the orange is Malachi's, and the red is mine. This one, however, the red, for some reason, the program made the red Malachi's house, and the orange is mine. You can see consistently that mine is a lot lower. And this was for April, and if you look at this scale, it's actually a lot lower than the rest of the graphs. So April was pretty low. This is a data table, and we have the average of the samples and the total average. And looking at them, you can see a big difference between the averages of both locations.
In conclusion, the maximum air quality in two locations was similar throughout the winter. The maximum data points, however, were very different between the two houses. Our thesis was correct. Malachi's house did have a much higher average quality. The air quality was not affected by location, but by eating habits. Bread and toast put out a great amount of particulate matter when cooked, as evidenced by comparison of the actual graphs. This leads to us to believe that ovens and toasters should be equipped with some sort of filtration system if bread is a major food staple in your home. Thank you.
So this seems to support a hypothesis that indoor air quality is regulated more by indoor activities than outdoor activities, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Sarah?
I'm just curious as to why you guys only tested two houses. Why did you test inside also?
Well, we had originally 3 houses, but one of the places we get really good data samples, so we just threw it out.
And the other, since there are 5 people in the group, the other 2 of us just live too close together, so we could get it. Any other questions?
So first of all, apologize for the typo. We do take chemistry 2, not chemistry 2, not some weird new class. But I'm Chris Lavoy, this is Billy, and this is Jill. Our project was to see if smoking had an effect on PM 2.5 levels.
All right, our hypothesis was that there'd be an increased level of PM 2.5 in houses where smokers live.
We were not only interested in proving our hypothesis, but also interested in finding exactly why cigarette smoke would have an effect on the levels of PM 2.5. There are at least 400 million particulate particles in 1 cubic foot of indoor air, and air molecules are constantly moving for various reasons, such as temperature, weather, wind. And when particles are in the air molecules knock into them, moving and bumping, which disrupts their settling and causes more movement. And cigarettes have a high concentration of these particles. And this is just a picture showing the visible difference of the concentration in the smoke and in the air around it. Tobacco smoke consists of vapor, which condenses into small droplets of aerosol, and this has highly sticky characteristics. The carbon that cigarettes give off also has electrostatic charges, which attracts particles of opposite charge. This forms lacy chains of multiple particles, which more readily attaches to furnitures and walls. And once these settles, other particles enter into the air.
I'm just going to explain the procedure a little bit. We took 6 houses, 3 of them smokers and 3 of them non-smoking, and paired them with like characteristics. Then we recorded the data using a dust track, and this is the first set we did, House A and House B. One was in Clinton in a basement with concrete floor. The other was around Russell and Forth, in the living room with carpet floor. As you can see, the averages are obviously less with a non-smoking house. And the possible factors that may have affected like some of the spikes and stuff were the one in Russell's next to a 4-lane road, the other one's in the rural woods, and the living room, the flooring and stuff. So.
The next 2 houses that we compared was a house in Bonner and one at Grant Creek. They had the same amount of residents, but different amounts of pets. And as you can see, the smoker's house, which is the blue line, is noticeably higher than the non-smoker's house. And the peak, right in the middle there, is probably from cooking dinner, because that's when they began cooking dinner. Possible factors could be the location. One was next to a highway, and the other one is the outskirts of town. Also the number of pets, the size of the house, and the number of entryways where the dust track was placed.
So the next 2 houses were in a urban kind of area, or urban and rural. The first one was a smaller area and a smaller house. It was a little apartment. The second one was probably a normal house. So in this second one, you can see that in a smaller area with a smoker, the levels are way beyond the normal recommended air quality for outside. And some of the factors are location, the rooms that it was taken in, pets, and the heating. And then to help our study out, to confirm it a little better, we looked up another study on the internet that was done in Dublin on workplaces like public areas where the PM 2.5 was 6 times higher than the outdoor air quality until they put a ban on smoking in these places, which decreased it by 84% when this ban was put in place. And then, so our conclusion fit our hypothesis that smoking increased the levels of PM 2.5 in houses. Thanks. Any questions?
Can you show your hypothesis slide again? Yes. Well, that's your question. Is there a separate hypothesis slide?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you. Yep.
So there's an increase, obviously. Dublin was 2.5.
It was the PM 2.5 in like a work or the pubs and it was 6 times higher before they put the ban on smoking in these places to the set air quality. In the smoking houses that we did here, they were averagely above the 0.035. In the smaller house, hers, Jill's got up to 2.5 at the highest and was above like 0.5, which is extremely high.
What percentage higher is that?
We didn't calculate that, but it's above the average is what we were looking for.
Hi, my name is Sierra Zaka. This is Megan Alec and Heather Handy, and we are part of the Air Quality in the Big Sky project, and we focused on living and working with cigarette smoke. Our advisor is Mr. Hamill, and we are from Ross High School.
We wanted to learn about the effects of smoking and PM 2.5 levels in local homes and businesses.
So our hypothesis was that we believe the cigarette smoke does affect the overall air quality and the health of people that are exposed to the air that may cause such things as lung cancer and asthma and other blood-related diseases. We took the dust track to 4 different places: a home that was smoking, a non-smoking home, a business that smokes outside on breaks, and another business that is not smoking. And then we graphed each test and compared the results. This is our smoking house, and the red line at the bottom is 0.035 micrograms per millimeter cubed, and that shows the average healthy level cutoff. And as you can see from the graph, the spikes are much higher than the required healthy level. There is one lull in there when most likely when everyone was sleeping and the smoke had time to clear out, but most of the time the smoke was really affected the graph.
For our outside smoking business, we chose Hamilton Pack, which is a meat processing plant. We put the dust track in the office where the employees come in after their smoking breaks outside. And their breaks are at 10 a.m. and then noon for lunch and 3 p.m. And you can see that there are spikes then.
This is our non-smoking home, and even though the windows and doors were open frequently throughout the day, you can tell that the air quality is well below the unsafe level, and that basically it's just a much better air to breathe. We chose Carrie's Salon for our non-smoking business. However, this salon is heated by a wood stove, so that explains some of the lulls in the graph. And also she cleans before the business hours. But during business hours and when customers and people are actually in the salon, the air quality is below the considered safe level and is healthy to breathe. 28% of all cancer deaths are from lung cancer, which is the greatest single cause of death in the U.S. from cancer. 90% of males who have lung cancer got it from smoking, as well as 70% of the females who got lung cancer.
The effects of passive smoking is just as bad as active smoking, and secondhand smoke is just as bad. 3,000 American adult non-smokers have died from lung cancer from inhaling secondhand smoke.
We concluded that even though our data was not completely, or I guess I should say that there wasn't quite a large amount of data, that smoking does greatly affect the quality of the air, and that our cancer stats that we just showed support this conclusion. So possible errors that we might have had while testing were windows and doors that have been opened and closed throughout the testing, the wood-burning stove that was mentioned in one of the tests, cleaning products that were used in both homes and businesses. One of the samples was a 19-hour when the rest of them were 24 hours, so that might have varied the samples, and the business equipment that was used.
We'd like to thank everyone who assisted us with the research and equipment, and a special thanks to Mr. Hamill, and thanks for the judges for your time.
Are there any questions?
How long did you possibly account for the use of hairspray or other aerosols during business hours?
Those were accounted for. Those were shown in the graph not to affect it very greatly because during business hours when those were used most frequently, the level was still below, so that didn't affect it too much. Back there.
How do you feel an air filter affected the air quality of the smoking environment?
We did not use air filters because we wanted to get just the basis of the quality of the air with smoking and no other variables like the air filter would
How
have.
do you feel it affected?
We believe that it was from the wood stove being burned because that is what heats the salon. So that probably had a lot to do with it. Yes.
Any more questions? Thank you.
Our first celebrity judge, Mr. Ben Schmidt. So, I don't know, we need to shake hands with you. All right. Hey, Ben, stay up here. So, Mr. Ian Marquand. Yeah, we're going to get your photo on that. That's Heidi Meyer. Mr. Eric Burgess. All right, and last but certainly not least, Dr. Andre Holder. All right, so let's give our celebrity judges a round of applause. We do appreciate them taking the time out of their busy day to come judge your presentations, and they've tallied their scores, so there is a grand prize winner. There's the best presentation per school also. So we have a lot of people to thank, and we'll go ahead and do this while you guys are passing the evaluations down. There's a whole lot of people that put a whole lot of hard work into this, and so I'd like to take the opportunity to thank a couple of folks, because without the efforts of these folks and then the funding that keep the program going, none of us would be here today. So the Center for Environmental Health Sciences, which is where I work, the Department of Chemistry, where Dr. Adams works. Montana DEQ, is Bonnie Rouse here? Bonnie's probably over at the health fair. So Montana DEQ, Department of Environmental Quality, has a huge part of this funding. As Randy, Dr. Knut said, National Institute of Health, as part of the Science Education Partnership Award, is a major funder for this program. 3M Corporation, so all the filtrees that you guys got to play with, they're all donated by 3M. Toyota USA Foundation is a major funder of this program as well. So I'm going to talk to you real fast about going to happen across the way there for the health fair. So there's some really cool stuff before you guys skedaddle. So we have the Women's Voices for the Earth. They have a demo about green cleaning products, info on personal care products. Montana DEQ there's a big conference that's going to be here this summer. It's called the Children's Environmental Health Summit. So if you guys want to present your research in a poster in front of a bunch of people, headed up by EPA, you guys are certainly welcome to do that. So our Valley County Environmental Health Department has a radon and food safety issue booth that they've set up. There's Health and Human Performance from the University of Montana. Department of Chemistry has something. Division of Biological Sciences has something. Campus of Sustainability Office, as well as emissions. So if you guys are interested in coming to the University of Montana, this is a great opportunity to go get some information, to talk to some people that might can help you out and answer any questions that you might have about filling out applications or what steps you need to take if you're interested in coming here. Want to forget anything? Where's Diana? All right, I'm on over. All right. So, and then, like I said, Montana DEQ, the Missoula City County Health Department, as well as the Valley County Health Department is big contributors for our program. So, with all that, and Toshiba Foundation. We'll talk about Toshiba. I think that's everybody, and if I've forgotten anybody, I apologize. And before we give away awards, I want to recognize the people that have put a lot of hard work into this. So, Marcy McNamara in the back there. The gatekeeper. Carolyn Hester, right here. Mary Buford. Randy Knuth. Dr. Earl Adams, a.k.a. the Judge Wrangler. And then Corey Regini over there. Nancy Mara, the one person that's on our team, an integral part of our team, is not here today. So for the MCAT guy, Nancy, we love you, we miss you, and we'll see you tomorrow. So this is actually an event that's going to come out on MCAT at some point. The KPAX folks are doing a little 30-minute video on the program, so check that out on Sunday. You might see yourselves in the video. Okay, without further ado, let's pass out some awards. So first people we're going to recognize are the poster judges. And these are the ones that have evaluated all the posters next door. And when you guys leave, please go check out the posters on your way to the health fair. So poster judges, come on down. So Carolyn Hester is the lead poster judge. Mary Buford. Corey Regini. These guys put a lot of hard work into it, and it's grading your posters. Okay. So now Carolyn's going to help me out to tell me what to do. Okay, let's recognize the teachers. So who's first up? We're going to bring all the teachers down one at a time, and we're going to clap for you guys, and for no spitballs. And we're going to line all you guys up, and we're going to take a group photo, okay? And so the teachers are a huge part of the program. Without the teachers, none of us would be here. And you guys owe a huge amount to your teachers, because you guys work with some of the best, okay? So let's hear it for all the teachers before we even start bringing them. So first up from Hellgate High School, Melissa Hinthorn. So for, let's see, Hoona High School, we have Mr. Ben McClucky. So Mr. Paul Smith from Lapway High School. So Cheryl Williams from Wasilla High School in Alaska. Brock Hamill from Corvallis.
Love you, Miss Hamill. Teacher of the Year has the award.
So Mr. Gene Recken from Libby High School. So last but certainly least, I mean not least, is Mr. Dave Jones from Big Sky High School. So Mr. Jones is the one that started the program long time ago. So this is your team of teachers for this year. Thank you very much. So we're going to recognize the point people. So these are the people that actually make the program happen within the classrooms, that takes the burden off of the teacher. So these are the students that actually make all the arrangements for you guys, the other guys to do the sampling. So let's take it in order here. And you guys can come down too and come down quickly and we'll get a quick group photo. So we're going to run through the list here. So Wasilla High School, Chris Reed, Alicia, Tony, and Aaron. Most of you guys aren't here. Chris is here. So Corvallis High School, Eric Bertram. Kamiai is not here, Casey and Kelsey. Blackway, Michaela, Victoria, Selena, and Jerica. Hellgate High School, Sean Huber and Thomas Elrod. Big Sky High School, Caitlin Brindle, Sarah Faisal. And Huna was Cole and Shauna. So we'll get you guys in a group photo here. Scooch together.
It's wild.
Making your parents proud. We've had a relationship with 3M for 3 years now, and they've given us lots of these field treats and lots of stuff to give away to the people that have helped the program within the high schools. So we have 3 students in particular that we'd like to recognize because they've been collecting data for us as part of this 3M study. So those students are, so Caitlin from Big Sky High School. And from Libby, Maddie Casey, and Hunter Sheffield. A bag of 3M swag. There's also. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to 3M. I'm going to do the old. All right, so we're going to do the top 3 posters. So how many posters did we have this year? 14 posters. So the top 3 posters are, they're not in any order, healthy eating versus healthy breathing for Corvallis High School. Chelsea Jessup, Lottie Jessup, Tabitha Hooten, Chandra Williams.
So we can pick our
This next group came a long way for a poster prize. So Hoona High School, Shauna Barros, Ricky Contreras. What type of cooking stove is more particular? So the last poster, PM 2.5 Under the Big Sky from Corvallis High School. Eden Hanrahan, Rain Bartow, Dylan. Presentations at an Alaskan symposium that we had a couple of weeks ago. So their first prize ticket was a full round trip ticket to the Missoula Symposium. So the guys, let's go ahead and bring the grand prize winners down here from Alaska, from Missoula. Then Cole, come on down from Hoona High School. So this is the first year that the last has been in the program. All right, congratulations, guys. Top score presentation at Hellgate High School. So we have Maggie, Arnica, and Katrina. Okay, from Corvallis High School, a whole bunch of Jessups. So we got Clary, Minnie, Mitchell, and the Afton Jessup. Big Sky High School. Sierra, Taylor, Peter, Sarah, Anna Marie, and Sylvia. So something I forgot to mention, the health fair, don't forget that. So you can guys can go right over after this. There's also going to be a tour of the University of Montana. So it's this professional tour of the university. It starts at 3:15. The Alaska folks are going. If you guys want to stick around for that, it starts at 3:15 at the Grizzly Fair on the Oval Lines. Okay? So it's a really cool thing, so take advantage of it. Last but certainly not least, we have the overall grand prize presentation for the 5th annual high school symposium. Air Toxins on the Big Sky, Air Toxins on the North Star, who knows where we'll be next year. So Libby High School. There's a couple sisters that did a fantastic job today. Cassandra Moog and Andrea Moog. Congratulations. Thank you. For today. From us as a team at the University of Montana, thank you so much for making this fun for us. It gets better every year, it gets more fun every year, and it's because of guys like you that makes it happen for us. Thanks again. So see you next year.